This is the Panerai Luminor 1950 8 days Chrono Monopulsante GMT Titanio. Yes, that is the actual name and it is a handful. This is at Panerai reference PAM00311. Yes, tobacco is the color of your energy. Hopefully someone gets that reference. So this is a titanium case, single button chronograph, an 8-day power reserve running off 3 barrels, and a domed crystal you can see from across the room. This is one of the most complicated Panerais you can buy. Of course, not a tourbillon or perpetual calendar, but almost nobody outside the Panerai world will know what they're even looking at. Original retail on this reference was around the $22,600 mark, and on the gray market, dealer listings run closer to about $18K. The current used market pricing today for full sets are trading anywhere between $7,700 to $9,500 range. And I want to be upfront about this specific unit. It is missing its original warranty card. It's been authenticated twice, once through Panerai through their service and separately by a third-party authentication house. But a missing card is still something that does affect the resale, and specifically on watches like this. And I'd rather tell you than actually gloss over that, because it does make a difference when you're looking at a used market for these. This is not a starter Panerai. It is a serious complication piece. Chronograph, GMT, day and night indicator, power reserve display, all in one dial. If you're brand new to Panerai, this is definitely not the model that I would point you to. This is the watch you go looking for once you've already got 1 or 2 in your collection, and now you want to look at a higher complication piece. So the real question with this one isn't, is this a good watch? It's once you're far enough into this brand and in your collection, do you want a serious complication piece? And is this 311 actually the one to choose? So let's get right into it. This one, of course, is a 44mm titanium case with a satin finish on the case and a polished bezel. So this one gets treated differently than a steel Panerai. If you ever want to get it polished, you can't just send it to any jeweler. Titanium will need specific laser welding to properly restore the finish, and realistically that means probably sending it to Panerai to have them take care of it. This is Panerai's signature crown guard lever. Of course, if you've ever seen a Luminor, you're going to have seen this crown guard lever, which I love these things. It locks the crown down in place completely when it's closed. The one thing that you always have to be aware of is if you've pulled out the crown, make sure you don't use the lever to push it back in. Make sure you push in the crown fully, then close the lever. You can do damage if you use the lever to push in the crown. I really prefer this style design where you can use a lever and it has a gasket and seal for the crown instead of always having to wind it in and out, which I always think I'm going to miss a thread or do some damage to it. So I really appreciate the lever design action on the crown. And of course, it's still one of the most recognizable design details in watchmaking, even today. So the tobacco, which is their version, which they have a couple different brown dials, but this is the specific tobacco dial. They also have it on the reference 351, which is also a titanium case, but it is a beautiful color, especially with the titanium. This combination is one of the best looking things that I think Panerai does when you look at the overall watch. The tobacco dial used to be my favorite dial of Panerai's, but now that I've gone through more references, I actually like some of their white dials, and of course their blue sunburst dials are just amazing. So it's kind of fallen down into 3rd or 4th place for me on their dial selection. It's a sandwich dial construction, and the other thing specifically about this reference is the sub dial at 9 o'clock. They have packed in hacking seconds and the AM PM day night indicator into that one sub dial. It's a little bit cleaner of a look that I think that they've done a good job with it, but it is one of the trickier things actually to use on this watch, and we'll get into that a little bit later. Now, the feature that of course gives this watch its name, the Monopulsante, is the button at the 8 o'clock marker, which starts, stops, and resets the chronograph. No separate start and reset pushers like a normal chronograph. This reference is part of a small Monopulsante family. Panerai has built out this one, of course, in titanium. They have a steel version, a black ceramic version with a black dial, and of course they have one with a blue dial as well. So a couple different versions if you want this same complication in a different case material and different dial. I've seen that it's claimed that this titanium version was the very first Monopulsante Panerai did make. I haven't actually been able to fully confirm that, so I won't guarantee that that is the case, but this is part of Panerai's earliest run of the Monopulsante chronographs, whether or not it was technically the first one or not. Once you flip it over, you've got the in-house P2004 manual wind movement visible through this display case back. It is 3 barrels stacked to deliver 8 days of power reserve. So that is genuinely impressive engineering for when this watch did come out. Panerai, of course, uses their quick release strap system on these, but it's not toolless, of course. You will need to use Panerai's little tool. It's this little plastic piece that I always love taking apart. You always get that nice little popping sound. And then you just, of course, you place it down. It's a little bit of a hassle, but you push down on that. You push to the side, that releases, and you slide this out. So is it the best quick release strap system out there? Definitely not. Is it faster than having to screw and unscrew the straps with some of the other models? Absolutely. That does make a big difference. You still have to actually use a screwdriver, which of course it also comes with a screwdriver. I have one here where you have to actually unscrew the clasp system there. So it's a little bit of manual work to change out the straps even with their quick release systems. This particular watch is currently on an aftermarket Mocha alligator strap. This one is a Rios 1931, but this actually has a stainless steel clasp on it, not the original titanium clasp. This is very important if you're shopping for one of these on the used market, because you need to make sure what type of clasp it is. If it doesn't have the original OEM strap, it might not have the OEM clasp either that is titanium, which makes a difference in the value when you're buying it on the used market as well. So make sure if it's been swapped out. This changes a little bit of the character of the watch. This is a really high finish, where a lot of the titaniums do have more of a satin finish. So it changes the character of the watch, and it's an easy detail to miss in photos, and just thinking that if it's an OEM class that it's probably titanium, since it's also a titanium case, but that's not always the case. So you always want to be aware of that. Here's the thing that surprised me the most. For how thick and how large this case is, it wears incredibly light, and the titanium is doing a lot of the work for that. Let me put this strap back on and show you how long it takes to put the strap back on. Of course, you have to place it properly. You have to slide this through on this side. Make sure that it's all lined up properly, and then you have to push down this on this side, push it through. So once again, this quick release strap system is not the best in the industry by any means, and then you have to use this over here to push it in. Not the best, not the worst, but let's go ahead, make sure that that's in there, and I'm going to show you what it looks like on my 7.25 wrist. Of course, I am 6 foot, 180 pounds, so my wrist, I would say, is pretty normal for that size, but you can see right there what it actually looks like on my wrist. So let's show you a little bit more. So I'm a 7.25 inch wrist, and I would say this fits really well on my size wrist. But you would want to stay at least my size or bigger. So if you have smaller than a 7.25 inch wrist, this probably isn't the watch that I would recommend. And I wouldn't put it on a smaller wrist given the case thickness, of course, because you can see how far it sits off of my wrist, and the dome crystal, which actually raises it even more. But once it's on, it's actually very comfortable, and I genuinely forget that I'm wearing it most days with how big it is. For a watch this size, that is truly saying something. All right, so now here's my actual biggest complaint about this watch, and I'm kind of bummed, but it's not a small one. Winding this watch is a pain. It is a 3-barrel 8-day power reserve. That means you will be winding it for a long time to get this thing fully charged. And I don't look forward to winding this thing. It is very light. It's a light wind, so I don't mind that. And when you look down at the actual power reserve indicator, when it's not maxed out, you're always like, I gotta just keep winding, keep winding. So that's the first main complaint that I have is it is a long time. I mean, if we sat here, we'd be sitting here for over a minute for me to actually wind this thing. And my second complaint is actually setting the AM and PM indicator alongside the GMT hand. It's not exactly difficult. It's just confusing enough that I'll be honest, I don't always bother setting it correctly. Yes, these are, watch collector problems. I know, it's little things like this, but if you're the kind of person who wants everything always dialed in perfectly on their watch, this one will test your patience a little bit. The other thing is the Monopulsante pusher itself. It functions perfectly. One button, start, stop, and reset. So you can see one button starts it, one button stops it, one button resets it. It works exactly as intended. It's just not that tactile, clean feeling push that you would hope on this high of complication piece, especially with the MSRP. It doesn't wow you like you think it should. It doesn't just have that perfect little click that you're hoping for. People who know watches will stop and ask what this is because of the domed crystal, the K-shape. It really doesn't look like any other watch out there, of course, other than other Panerai. But if you are chasing recognition by wearing and owning this watch, this one is not it. It's not for a general audience. Anyone outside of being a Paneriste, almost nobody will even know what this is, and they'll wonder why you're wearing it in the first place. This is a watch for you, not for the room. All right, let's do the 5D score. So for the score, aesthetics and heritage, it gets a 33 out of 50. And for wearability and utility, it is a 31 out of 50 for a total score of 64 out of 100. Now, where does this put this on the leaderboard? Honestly, I'm not going to pretend that there's a full leaderboard yet. This is only the second watch that we've done a 5D score for, and it's my first Panerai as well. So you can take the ranking with a grain of salt for now. What I can tell you is this one scores higher than the last watch I reviewed, and that tracks. There is much more complication, more history, more to actually talk about with this watch. And as I get more of these under my belt, this leaderboard is hopefully going to get a lot more interesting and useful, and I'll keep you posted on where everything lands as we move forward. At the end of the day, a 64 out of 100 doesn't tell you whether or not to buy this watch. It tells you what kind of collector you already have to be to really go after this one. This isn't a watch for everybody. It's a watch that you already understand. You understand the brand. You understand why you're going after a higher complication piece. Hopefully, if you've made it this far into this review, you'll know if this is the right watch for you or not. This isn't for everyone. Some of the best watches in your collection never are. Buying a piece like this used to come down to trust as much as condition, mismatched clasps, missing paperwork, the details most people won't catch on their own. So if you ever want a second set of eyes before you buy your next Panerai or used watch, let me know. I'm always happy to help, whether you buy from me or anyone else. I want to make sure that you're making the right decision for you. So check out our other reviews below. And of course, this one is currently listed, so you'll be able to check it out with the link below and see where this one lands as well. We'll see you in the next one.